Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she should have expected her best friend to try to upstage her at her own wedding? She's been doing stuff like this since she was little. Well, my sister is now so mad at me. I don't know what to do, but here's where I start. My sister Anne has been best friends with Ruby for as long as I can remember. So growing up, Ruby was like a big sister to me. One thing that's important to note is that Ruby has always had the most outrageous fashion since possible. She's the person that would wear those runway outfits that you think no one would actually wear. Anne got engaged pre-COVID. Almost as soon as it happened, she started being really weird to Ruby. When she made me Maid of Honor, I was kind of surprised because they've always sworn to be the Maid of Honor at each other's weddings. But I am her blood sister, so it wasn't that weird. But I was completely blown away when she made a group chat, and I found out that Ruby wasn't even a bridesmaid. Both me and Mom tried to talk to her about it, since we figured they had an argument or something, but she would only say that Ruby did not care anyways. I know that Ruby was hurt, but she did not want any drama, so I agreed to let it go. Throughout the whole wedding process, my mom kept asking Anne if she would invite Ruby, if she would ask Ruby's opinions, etc., etc., but Anne refused to have any contact with her or talk about anything wedding-related with her whatsoever. On Saturday, my sister was married. She had a beautiful outside, socially distanced wedding, but she was seething the whole time because of Ruby's dress. It wasn't at all outrageous by Ruby's standards, so I don't believe that she wanted to outshine my sister per se. She wore a quiet and simple little wedding dress, but that was her choice. As Maid of Honor, I of course went to her fitting, and that was literally the one she chose. Well, Anne's been cursing Ruby out, saying that their friendship is over, since, like, she hadn't been ignoring her all throughout the lockdown. Since finally I just said that she's been friends with Ruby most of her life, and she knows what she dresses like, and that she should have expected this. If it was that much of a problem, she should have found a way to mention it to her, or just made her a bridesmaid. Well, Anne lost it with me. She sent Ruby some really horrible messages after she screamed at me. She didn't say a word to me all of yesterday, but she's badmouthing me to our dad, who of course is on her side. My mom has told Anne that she should apologize to Ruby for the nasty messages she sent and for yelling at me. So Anne isn't talking to her either. I don't even know what's going on, but Ruby swears on her life that they did not have an argument or anything pre-COVID. Anne says that's none of my business and I should be supporting my real sister. Well, my dad agrees with her, and she's rallied the other bridesmaids against me, so I don't know what to do. Am I the a-hole in this situation? What's up guys, Mr. Reddito here. So this is a pretty sticky situation we're dealing with. This story has multiple updates, and if you think Bridezilla struck, you haven't seen anything yet. I hope you're enjoying your day so far, and I hope I bring you some joy with this story. Guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting on? Click that subscribe button and let's jump into update number 1. Based on some of the advice I've been receiving, I was going to tell Anne this morning how much she means for me and that I'm there for her. But she's seething again, so I'm not trying to. Dave asked me if I could talk to Anne because they've also apparently had a massive fight because he tried to defend Ruby on the wedding night. He asked me if I could explain where he misstepped and how to make it up to her. This is the first time he's ever asked me for help with their relationship, so I can tell he's clearly at a loss. I said I was just as confused and we didn't even know why she wasn't in the bridal party, so he should just try and talk it out with Anne. This is when things get weird. Dave said that the reason Ruby wasn't in either wedding party was because he wanted her as a best woman, and Anne wanted her as a maid of honor. But Anne would not budge, and said that she should just drop her from both parties to be fair. He said that she explained it to Ruby, and that's why they had a fight, because Ruby wanted to be included. I said, okay, and just hung up. But the more I think about it, the more confused I get. Literally, if they had a massive fight about Ruby being a maid of honor, surely Ruby would remember. Also, I don't know why Dave would want Ruby as his best woman, when to my understanding, he only met her after he started dating Anne. The whole scenario's just so weird. So, I'm really taking your advice not to meddle to heart, which is a nightmare because now curiosity is totally piqued. So, I won't bring it up. It's possible that this is all I've ever known, and this will bug me to my grave. But I've made a vow not to push Anne anymore on the fact. Thanks everyone for the comments, and thank you for all the not the a-hole people for reassuring me that I'm not the one acting crazy. Thanks for your helpful insights. Update number 2, title, I'm even more confused. Hey guys, so Dave called me about 30 minutes ago, asking me in a very angry tone of voice if any of his groomsmen behaved inappropriately towards me. I asked, what? And he asked again. I could hear Anne in the background shouting something. I said that they've been perfect gentlemen at the wedding and that I hadn't had any contact with them since. He then asked me if Ruby knew that she was meant to be a best woman. I said not to my understanding, but it was possible that I don't know, as both she and Anne had been quite secretive about what's happening between them, and that he'd better off be asking them himself. He laughed and hung up the phone. Ruby's texted me asking me what's going on and if I knew about the best woman / maid of honor thing. Just now, I got a message from one of the bridesmaids saying that if Dave calls me, I shouldn't answer him. Guys, Anne's on the phone to my dad, screaming it sounds like. I have no clue what's going on. But I think someone in this mess is the truth of what actually happened. Everything seems to be exploding from within. I now think that the bridesmaids, or at least that a particular one, are involved if this thing keeps happening at this pace. I think I should eventually find out what the flying duck is going on. Alright guys, Mr. Reddito here. Things are about to absolutely explode. Update 3, let's get into it. There's been a lot of shouting and tears today. Honestly, I'm exhausted, but so many people have commented for the update, so here it is. I'm still kind of in shock. Anne's been lying to just about everyone. The story, well, it's very complicated and very long. This list is actually what I used to wrap my head around it. It's all the facts I have in chronological order. So, number 1. Dave's been to jail and is an ex-drug addict. He met Ruby before he met Anne, after he recovered. He was really struggling with money and Ruby helped him out a lot. He considers her to be one of his closest friends. Number 2. 2 years later, Dave was doing well at his job and much more stable and functional. Around this time, Ruby introduced him to Anne. Number 3. Anne was very reluctant to have a relationship with Dave because of his dirty past, but she had strong feelings for him. Eventually, they did begin dating, but she was still ashamed of the person he used to be. So she told us that they met over a dating app. Dave consented to this at the time. Number 4. As Dave became more comfortable with himself and the relationship became more serious, he told Anne that she needed to be honest with us about his history. So, she agreed to tell us, but she did not. She told Dave that she had wrote a fake letter from my family about how we were really grateful for his honesty and accepted him. She told Ruby that my parents had reacted really badly. So Ruby never brought it up with Dave or my family because she thought it was still a very sensitive topic. When Dave proposed, Anne started absolutely freaking out about the wedding. Dave wanted people from his support group to be there, Ruby as his best woman, etc., which would expose the lies. But she still didn't want to tell us who Dave was or Dave that she'd lied to him, so she decided to continue lying. So instead of coming clean. Number 6. So, Anne pretended to really be upset that she could not have Ruby as her maid of honor, so she could make the argument that she should be dropped from both wedding parties. She told Dave that she had explained their decision to Ruby, and that Ruby's taken issue with it keeping him happy. In reality, she knew that if Ruby knew she was meant to be best woman, it could easily get back to me and my mom, and then raise questions from us about Ruby's relationship with Dave. So she said she didn't tell Ruby anything at all, and that's why Ruby was so confused about what happened and could not think of anything. Anne also told Dave and all of his friends from his support group that they should not mention the addiction in speeches or even casual conversations, because it was still a sensitive subject for certain family members before the wedding. She also told the bridesmaids so many lies about Ruby. She told them that she had a habit of causing scenes, that she was going to try and sleep with the groomsmen, that one of them was an ex-boyfriend of hers that dumped her, that she would get way too drunk. Essentially, she just painted Ruby as a disaster waiting to happen, so the bridesmaids would not like her, and also so they could keep her away from certain people, specifically the ones that also knew Dave at the wedding. Anne also told the bridesmaids the only reason Ruby was even invited is because I idolize her so much, and they would repeat any of the lies she told to me. Number 7. At the wedding, Anne puts on her enormous meltdown about the dress. The bridesmaids obviously didn't have a very positive opinion on Ruby, so they were easy to convince that it was meant as a genuine slight. My dad did what Anne apparently expected everyone to do, by caving immediately because she was the bride. If me and my mom had done the same, Anne would have basically used it as an excuse to cut Ruby out of everyone's life. Number 8. She tried to do the same thing with Dave's groomsmen by insisting to him that they had said inappropriate things about the bridesmaids. The idea was to basically remove anybody that knew the truth about Dave from the general social circle, so it would not come up again. Number 9. Dave smelt a rat. He asked what exactly the issue was with Ruby's dress and what exactly his friends had said. Anne panicked, accused him of not loving her, choosing his friends over her, blah blah blah, and it turned into this massive argument. Dave was mad and very suspicious, so he starts calling people up, trying to figure out what happened. Number 10. A couple of the bridesmaids said that Anne was telling the truth about the groomsmen. She asked and pressured them to do it. But most were kind of weirded out by the request, and I think they successfully got that across to Dave. He called me to ask if I knew what was happening, and told Dave that I was just like him, caring about Ruby more than her. And also that I wasn't there when it happened. But the timing of the story just did not match up, so Dave called me anyways. That was the weird phone call. Number 11. At this point, he knew she was spouting BS, so he asked her up front what's happening. She broke down and told Dave everything. Number 12. He was absolutely fuming. He texted us all to let us know his past and then basically kicked Anne out. She came to us where she then had to explain again everything. Anne's absolutely shaken. I've never considered her capable of such deception ever, and manipulation, and I don't think she's ever done something like this before. Contrary to what some commenters seem to believe, I don't hate my sister. I feel sorry for her even though I'm really hurt by what she did, because she feels so guilty and absolutely miserable, because she's worried that things will never be worked out with Dave. She's gone to bed now very upset because our mom won't even look at her. She's fuming that Anne would deceive and hurt her and so many other people like this. I do understand where she's coming from. My dad's also very shocked and hurt. Anne texted Ruby and she sent her a message explaining and apologizing. But obviously Ruby's really angry and upset. She just told her that she could not speak to her right now, but maybe she'd call her in the morning once they both had a chance to calm down. Dave's probably the most hurt out of everyone in the group, and I understand why. He would not speak to Anne, but he did tell me that he really thought that he had her acceptance, and that the letter she had written to him had been his most treasured possession ever since he received it. And to find out that it was a big old phony was absolutely crushing. I told him that we did accept him for who he was and that nobody blamed him, but I don't think it helped much. He's asked for distance from our family, and I do understand. I'm not sure when we'll be willing to speak to Anne again, or if he wants to be her husband after this. I wouldn't blame if he goes on to find someone else. Well, thanks everyone. It turned out everyone was way off base, although I don't think anyone could have predicted this outcome. But a lot of comments were very insightful and gave me food for thought, despite everyone kind of looking in the wrong directions. Thanks, guys. Final update, 2 weeks later. Oh man. The past 2 weeks have been stressful. Anne and my mom have been fighting and crying for most of it. We learned that this deception of Anne was not out of the blue. She had this obsession with her, quote, image for a long time. She confessed to a lot of stuff from secondary school and her job. Some of it was worrisome, and some of it was really scary and manipulative. I feel so distant from the person she's become. There's tension between us that I'm not sure will ever go away, even though it really pains me as well because she's my sister. Once my dad heard some of the revelations, he decided that Anne should go to a therapist. Anne really struggled against the decision, which led to a massive fight between her and my dad. I've never seen my dad so angry, neither has she, which is probably why she eventually agreed. The therapist is supposed to help Anne process her emotions better after everything that's happened and also hopefully get to the root of her problem. A lot of comments suggested that our family wasn't healthy in the way we interact with each other. I'm conflicted on this because, well, on one hand, me and my mom were right that something was very wrong. But then that doesn't mean that we didn't behave badly, if that makes sense. So I suggested family therapy. My parents are looking into it. Hopefully, we can learn a bit more about boundaries and each other, and eventually move on from this. Anne's been talking a lot to Ruby. From the sounds of it, Ruby's still very upset. But I've been taking the advice not to meddle so much in their relationship, and I'm leaving them to it. Me and Ruby still speak a lot, but not about Anne. Dave sent a message 2 days ago that I think has sadly resolved this very terrible situation. After learning that this is part of a pattern of behavior, he doesn't think that he wants to be in a marriage with Anne after all, as he feels that she hasn't only hurt him deeply, but deceived him about the type of person she is. I know from Ruby that he's also seeking therapy and has confided in friends about what happened, so he does have a strong support system around him. I'm not getting involved with him other than that I think he deserves distance from my family after everything. But knowing he's okay does make me feel a bit better. Anne's taken this news very badly. When she first got the message, I think she had a panic attack. I don't know, because I've never really seen what one looks like. She was breathing really quickly and shaking and crying. She knows that Dave learned about her past from Ruby and is absolutely furious with Ruby for telling him all her little secrets. She's just preoccupied with the thought of being someone's divorce. She's with the fact that Dave is leaving her. I really hope that the therapist helps her get better, and although I'm not taking it as hard as my mom, I do feel guilty for not noticing this sooner because she's just simply not well. Okay, that was a roller coaster. Let's read a couple comments and see what they have to say. Wow, I missed all of this. That was a ride. I was wondering why, if the issue was how Ruby dressed, she wasn't made a bridesmaid where she'd have a uniform, so to speak. Dave must have had an amazing support system. Feels like it would be easy for that kind of betrayal to lead to a relapse. Maybe it's because my family tends to be a bit enmeshed, but I don't know, OP's family behaved that differently than other families would have when faced such inflexible behavior. But I'm glad they're working into family therapy. The parents in particular might want to think about how they miss this aspect of their daughter. So guys, I just want to know your thoughts on this. What would you do if you found out what we now know about said daughter? Drop your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.